With just 3 days left in this year's legislative session, South Carolina lawmakers will return to the state capitol with a long list of items to do, but a very short period of time to get them done. Representing the people of South Carolina House District 86, which includes portions of Aiken and Lexington counties, Representative Bill Taylor. Welcome. How are you, sir?
Well, Joey, I'm fantastic. Good to be with you today. I really appreciate you inviting me on.
Well, thanks for your time today. Let's start with what you consider to be the priorities as you guys will go back in session tomorrow and have just 3 days.
Well, first of all, I've been called a lot of names in my life because I'm in politics, right? But honestly, fool is never one. So only a fool would look you in the eye and say, "Oh, I know exactly what's going to happen the next 3 days." I often tell folks that particularly the last 2 weeks of a legislative session are more like playing in a paintball game when things are going like back and forth and back and forth. And, honestly, you have to just keep your wits about you to know what's going to happen. So at this point, I don't think anybody for certain would tell you how we're going to end next Thursday at 5 o'clock at Sine Die. There's things hanging in the balance. We've done some good stuff. We got more good stuff, hopefully, to do and to accomplish, but it's always the crunch at the very end. So a couple of things. I think this week in particular, we were so thrilled to have school choice finally get across the finish line for the umpteenth time, I might add, because as you know, we've passed it in previous sessions and the Supreme Court, blocked it. So they did give us a good code in their opinion, particularly the minority code from Justice Kittredge. And so we were able to model legislation, we think, that will pass muster. Of course, the moment the governor signs it, which he will probably next week, or this week, I should say, but there'll be lawsuits, of course, and so we'll go do it again. But I think that's just an enormous. I'm a school choice guy from the very beginning. I've been in the House for 15 years, and I stand for public schools, and I stand for school choice. They are not diametrically opposed to each other. Every child learns differently, and some kids need to have a different path to get there, and maybe a different zip code. So this allows them to break out of their zip codes. So you've got school choice that passed. What's hanging in the balance, I think, is really important. You've got really the liquor liability issue and this whole tort reform and liquor liability issue. Look, it was 2 years ago in April that I got my first call on this, and it was from one of the major VFW halls right here in Aiken. And they said, we've had our insurance canceled and we can't get new insurance. We can't find a provider. And I was like, what the heck is going on? It was the first news of this 2 years ago, and it was just starting. So, I sorted into it. I actually did call Speaker Smith, Burl Smith, Speaker of the House, and he said, I said, Merle, and I explained what the issue was. And I said, a government runs on crises. I'm sorry to say, you need a good crisis to get something done, right? Like energy or school choice or whatever. So I said, Speaker, I said, it's going to be a damn crisis when your VFW hall closes. And he said, you got that. Yes. So we've all been working on this one. And the House, last year passed a liquor liability that didn't get through the Senate. We did it again this year. They've been working on the big tort reform, which is an enormous issue. It's much larger than just liquor liability. So, and they just sent it over to us. They worked months and months on it, and we just got it a few weeks ago. So we just don't have time to get that Senate bill done. They've already started hearings. I was sat on a 2.5-hour hearing just last week. It is I'm not a lawyer, I'm a lawmaker, so it's a difference, but it's a very complex problem. So what we are doing, we're working very hard, negotiations between the House and Senate. Let's get that liquor liability done. And we promise we'll work on the tort reform off session. So when we come back in January, we'll have something that we can work on together with the Senate. So that's huge. It's huge upstate. You got a lot of folks up there who are the restaurants, the hospitality industry. It's a serious issue. We got to get her done.
It is, because there have been a lot of businesses who have just literally closed their doors, gone out of business because of it. more who will likely do the same thing if there's not some relief pretty quickly. So, Representative Taylor, do you think there is a chance in these final few days of the session that something may be passed to help these businesses?
Yeah, we're right on the brink of getting that done. Can I promise it'll be done? Oh, no, never make a promise you can't keep. So it's not up to me. But I can tell you there is hard negotiations going on. And we all know this has to be done. You
Yeah.
know, will it be done? Can we find that thing? I mean, we've passed a really good bill that really helps because it tiers the bars, the restaurants. Because if you know what, if you're not serving liquor after 9 o'clock, you're probably not one of them bars that's got the DUIs heading right out on the street. You
Right.
know, so
Sure.
and all kinds of things are in that bill. That's a good thing.
Sure. All right, let's talk about taxes, income taxes to be specific.
Yeah,
That's been another topic that's been hot on people's minds this
yeah.
session. Of course, a few weeks ago, we thought we had a great bill. It was rolled out with a lot of fanfare, only to find out, well, it doesn't work exactly the way we thought it
Right.
would. There's an alternative version, as I understand it. Where do we stand on that?
Well, it the alternative version, and let me just go back to I am on Ways and Means. I'm on the Budget Committee. We're even better. I'm on the Small Tax Subcommittee. So I'm one of only three legislators that have ever voted in favor of the bill because we passed it out of the subcommittee to the full Ways and Means. Then we began working on it, and we had to do a lot of modeling to get it right, and we had to change it. So it didn't stick at the 3.9. But you know, the first thing and most important thing is we've got to decouple from the federal government because our taxes were hooked to the federal government. We got to get off of that. Those guys aren't trustworthy. We don't know what they're going to do. Are they going to pass? Are they really going to pass and renew the Trump tax reform? Or is it going to go way up again? So we've got to decouple that, and that's a huge issue. So we found another spot that's really, really good, where you have just about 75% of the people in the first year are going to either have no tax increase or have a decrease, and mostly a decrease. So that's a good thing. That's a good start. So you've got about 25% that are going to pay a little more. But if you're kind of going to the flat tax, it's the taxing principle. Taxes are better if the lower you can get the rate, the more you can spread it out. That way, everybody's paying something. Now, a lot of those quote people who haven't been paying anything will, maybe $50, maybe $100. I don't think that's a backbreaker for a lot of people, but we've kept all kinds of zero taxes in until $30,000, even up to 40. So it's modeled really good this time. Now, here's the problem: we've run out of time.
Yes.
So it's on the House floor. Hopefully, we'll get a big vote on that, this week, and then we'll send it to the Senate. But then they'll have the off session to work on it, and hopefully, when they come back in January, we can get it done and across the finish line. It's a big deal, and it's important. We've got to get it done.
Sure. Overall, and with me today, Representative Bill Taylor from House District 86. Overall, how do you feel about this session? I've had some of your colleagues in both the House and the Senate say that they were a little disappointed with what you had been able to accomplish. How do you feel?
Well, there's always those. You always wish more were done, but you've got 170 people, as we used to say. They're all senior class presidents elected on their own, right? the kings of their little areas, and so getting those people to all agree and to see an agenda. I think the House Republican Caucus, in particular, I will tell you, it leads the agenda. I'm not sure my senators would like to hear that, but we lead the agenda, and we're a supermajority, and we can get things done. So I think I'm never satisfied, but I also am pragmatic. After 15 years, I understand some things can't get done as easily, and they have to roll over to the next year. So you can't judge us on 1 year; you got to judge us on 2 years. By the way, I'm pretty pleased because I've been working for 8 years on the hands-free cell phone bill, which is to put the damn telephone down, right? Put your eyes on the road and drive. And so after having my teeth kicked in for, I can't tell you how many times over 8 years and been disappointed, we're across the finish line now. It comes back, and the Senate's passed it unanimously this past week. Comes back to the House. Hopefully, we can get concurrence. And wouldn't it be great if we can send it to the governor and get her signed? So,
Well, and I was going to congratulate you on that.
thank you.
I knew you had been working on that, and I saw that it had passed, and so that's great news, and it'll just make South Carolinians safer on the roads.
Yeah, it's just one thing. I mean, there's other distractions in the car and the
Yeah,
vehicle. We all know that from the screens and the GSP, all the maps and all that stuff. So, but you know what? This one right here, holding that up,
yeah,
all you do is put it down. You still can talk on the phone. You still can text if you're brave enough to to dictate it and have it come out. But so there's all kinds of things you can still do. But we've proven in every other state that's done it. We'll be the 33rd state to have this sort of serious hands-free bill. They've saved a lot of lives. We potentially 1,000 people a year die on our roads, and guess what? We probably can save anywhere from 170 to 200 lives a year, given
wow,
what other states have done.
wow, that is so good. Representative Bill Taylor, thank you again for your time. I know you're going to have a busy week this week.
Back
Good luck
in the
to you
paintball gun machine, right? You know.
That's right.
So
Thank
we
you
will
for your time.
we will sit on the House floor on Thursday until 5 o'clock doing our work. But at 5 o'clock, when that clock hits, we sine die, and hopefully we'll have a lot of things having crossed this week. So
Yeah,
stay tuned.
sure thing. It's been a pleasure having you.
Joey, appreciate you. Thank you, sir.